Atomic scale manufacturing is no longer a fantasy scribbled in the margins of science fiction. It's a living reality, a tool that can now place individual atoms precisely where we want them. With a degree of control, it would have seemed like heresy to every chemist before the 21st century. This isn't just a step forward for engineering. It's a line in the sand between the world as it has always been and the world as it could soon become. The first working single-atom transistors, the direct manipulation of carbon atoms, the assembly of atomically thin wires. These aren't theoretical dreams. They exist today, even if they remain tethered to laboratories and clean rooms rather than sitting on a kitchen counter. But their existence means the clock is ticking on every old story we tell about work, struggle, and survival. To understand what's at stake, forget for a moment all the tired narratives about technology as just another convenience or economic growth engine. This isn't about faster phones, cheaper cars, or shinier screens. Atomic scale manufacturing means building everything, truly everything, from the ground up, one atom at a time. Not just semiconductors and exotic lab materials, but potentially any object you can imagine, constructed with perfect precision from whatever base material is available. It means the power to take what we today call waste, even literal garbage and sewage, and reassemble it into food, furniture, tools, medicine, and yes, gold if you're so inclined. The fantasy of alchemy isn't poetry anymore. It's chemistry and physics, wielded with surgical exactness. This is not a distant someday. The earliest building blocks have already been laid. Single atom placement has been demonstrated in controlled settings. Molecules are built up by mechanical arms that do not rely on luck or chemistry's chaos, but on stepwise directed action. We can inscribe circuits atom by atom. Carbon nanotubes can now be assembled with a degree of control that hints at the full-scale molecular assembly lines to come. Every one of these advances, however niche and technical they appear, is a chisel blow at the ancient wall of material limitation. The implications are so vast that most people instinctively shrink from them. Our entire civilization is predicated on the idea that there isn't enough to go around, that you must fight, serve, or obey in order to survive. Scarcity is the bedrock assumption behind law, hierarchy, and tradition. Even the most basic forms of social organization, family, tribe, state, arose to control and ration what was rare. Scarcity is what made money necessary, what gave governments their purpose, what justified war, discipline, sacrifice, and every conceivable form of extraction for thousands of years. The boundaries of what's possible for any person have been set by the brute arithmetic of not enough. Atomic scale manufacturing rips that premise out by the roots. When the means to fabricate what you need, what anyone needs, can be miniaturized, automated, and distributed, then the walls come down. No one has to go without. No one is forced to rent their life away just to gain access to the basics. You're not trading hours for bread, or pleading with officials for water, or sacrificing dignity for shelter. The only remaining scarcity becomes time and attention. What you want to do rather than what you are compelled to do for survival. If this technology is not deliberately throttled, if it's allowed to evolve and spread, then the structure of society will have to change to match the new reality. Power can no longer be built on the ability to withhold access to things. The means of creation will be as common as running water. The factories of the 20th century, those smokestack cathedrals that once turned cities into engines of wealth and squalor, are replaced by machines the size of a microwave, producing everything from dinner to replacement organs. Labor itself, once the great unifier and divider of humanity, no longer stands between a person and their needs. That, of course, is exactly why those who benefit from today's scarcity will resist this technology at every turn. The truth is, the technical obstacles are falling away, the political and economic obstacles are rising just as fast. If there are no nanofactories in every home by 2040, it won't be because nature said no. It will be because someone, somewhere, is still invested in a world where suffering and discipline keep the old pyramids standing. We need to be clear-eyed about what this means for freedom. The end of scarcity is not the end of struggle, but it is the end of involuntary struggle. It's not paradise. It's adulthood. The arrival of the species at a point where its greatest questions are no longer about how to survive, but how to live. The legacy of atomic scale manufacturing, if we fight for it, is a society that never again has to ask, who gets to eat? The old choices between comfort and dignity, between subsistence and self-actualization, are made obsolete. The only poverty left will be the poverty of the imagination. So we have a choice. Let this technology be captured, throttled, and rationed to prop up the last creaking hierarchies of a world built on forced scarcity. Or fight for its liberation, and with it, our own. Atomic scale manufacturing is not just another gadget, not another wave in the endless churn of consumer novelties. It is the end of one story, the story of hunger, want, and forced obedience, and the beginning of another, the story of what happens when no one anywhere has to ask permission to thrive. That is the promise, that is the threat, and that is the threshold upon which we now stand.